it's Leanne and there's a dog already. That's a great start. Can you leave? Can you kind of reverse? Yep. Okay, thank you. Do you like my Santa and my Christmas jumper? He's got a scarf on. Boop boop. Welcome to my November wrap up. As you can see, I am in the living room today filming because I wanted the nice cozy Christmassy vibe. Do you like our Christmas trees? I think it is pretty. So in November I read 4 books and I DNF'd 1 book. So we will just get the DNF out of the way first and then we can be happy for the rest of the video because after all, it's Christmas time. The essential premise of The Good Neighbours is a character called Helen, not my lovely wife Helen, but a character with so much agency that she might as well be a minnow, who leaves a promising career, a promising teaching career in the UK, gives up her entire life to go and live in Germany with her husband who teaches at a pretty posh school over there. When she gets over there, having left her entire life behind for this new place, she discovers that she's living in a cul-de-sac of what is essentially other teaching staff. There's like 2 people who live in this cul-de-sac who don't work at the school. Elitist, mean girl type atmosphere. Pretty much from the start, she doesn't get on with the head teacher's wife, which is so incredibly predictable, but you know, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll let that go. It's very kind of Desperate Housewifesy in a few bits. There's dinner parties from hell. There's, you know, very stereotypical, this character likes to drink, this character likes to gamble, he's probably cheating on his wife. And, you know, it was just, I was looking for so much more. I was so excited to read a British protagonist moving to another country and being the other for a change. She meets an activist from the German community who dislikes the fact that there are so many English people in his neighbourhood, and she strikes up a friendship with him and we get to see her in that way of being an intruder in somebody else's world and their space, and I really liked that. But the characters were just cookie cutter, the writing was nothing special, and I stuck with it. I think I gave up at like 32% for as long as I could, but just wouldn't recommend. The first book that I read and actually finished and enjoyed this month was The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. This is of course the follow-up to Milk and Honey, which was Rupi Kaur's first collection, and in her first collection she kind of explored themes of loss and building yourself up as a person after you had exited a damning relationship and finding a relationship afterwards. And a lot of the themes are very similar, and I was hoping for a departure from that. I was hoping for something that kind of showed that Rupi Kaur had grown as a poet and had found other topics and had, you know, as she got older and moved on in her life. There's a lot of very similar things. She goes through another breakup in this novel. She learns how to exist again through the grief of that. I feel like this collection would have been better suited if it had focused on more about her as a person in the wake of sexual abuse and less about her as a person who exists in a relationship as half of a whole. I guess I just was nonplussed by having to go through another huge breakup, and on one hand I was like, well, it's very real and very honest because we don't just have one heartbreak in our life, but on the other hand I was kind of like, meh. So it's not that I won't read it again, and it's not that I don't recommend it. There's some really beautiful ones in here, but I wanted more of the celebration of her and her heritage and her as a woman, and less of the relationship analysis, I guess. Hi. Oh, snogs, thank you for the snogs. Are you going to help me film the video? Yeah? What did you think of this one? This one's the one that's next. What did you think? No? Yeah. Lots of people on the internet agree with you, you know. So the next book that I read and finished, I've been reading for quite a while, and it's please don't drink my tea. It's All in Your Head. It's True Stories of Imaginary Illness by Suzanne O'Sullivan. This one is a non-fiction book about psychosomatic illness from the point of view of a neurologist who's worked with it for very many years. It is a super controversial book, which I did not realise when I went into it. I've had this on my shelf since it came out, and I think that was, let's see, between 2016. I didn't want to pick it up because when you're going through mental illness episodes yourself, you don't necessarily want to read about anybody else going through a mental illness. It's not because it's extra triggering, at least not for me. It's mostly because I'm super selfish during those episodes, and I don't want to have sympathy for anybody else because I'm struggling to have sympathy for myself and treat myself with kindness. But that aside, I finally picked it up, and so I had missed all of the initial controversy over this, and when I went into it, all that I knew was what the author told me, which is that she was a medical student who decided that she was pretty enchanted with the idea of neurology, and like everybody else who goes into neurology, she wanted to be a surgeon and she wanted to poke about in people's brain matter and do studies and get cool grants and things like that. And she discovered when she actually started to work in neurology that it's not like that at all, and that one of the things that she was seeing increasingly from the beginning of her career to being qualified to practice on her own was psychosomatic illness. Suzanne deals with patients who are having epileptic fits, who are losing the use of entire limbs, and who are sometimes bedbound or blinded, and all of the physical causes for these illnesses has been completely ruled out. So she takes you, I think, very interestingly, from a career when she was much younger in practice all the way up until now, where she specifically gets people referred to her because she deals with psychosomatic illness and is known to deal with it, and the way in which she has developed empathy from a junior doctor who pretty much qualified and thought she knew everything to taking these patients seriously, and all of the sort of quite grisly episodes in between. Oh, thank you, Padfoot, for bringing me a piece of the wreath that your mummy's making in the background. That's so considerate of you. I'll keep it to the side here, shall I? I'll safe keep it. Thank you. Welcome to my house. So the controversy, let's just get there. The first reason is that people believe that Suzanne O'Sullivan belittles psychosomatic illness, which in my personal opinion means they haven't read the book properly, or they've gone into it with the agenda of thinking that must be what this book is about, because it is called It's All in Your Head, which is a bit, you know, woo. But I think that the publishers did that really well, because I picked it up partially, or requested it for review actually, I think, partially because of the title. So I think that the people who've gone into it and have said that she's attacking people with psychosomatic illness have perhaps misread it or attributed an agenda to Suzanne O'Sullivan, which I don't think actually exists. I actually think that she's very self-depreciating in the way that she talks about her own lack of empathy and the way that she had to learn the hard way to take these patients seriously, and that everybody who has an illness, no matter whether it's just in your head or whether it's physically in your body, deserves to be taken care of and believed. And the other part of the controversy about this is that she uses junk science, and that a lot of the things that are in this book are scientific facts which have now been, you know, disproven, or which we've learned more about in the last couple of years. And to that I say, books are constantly in development. Anybody who writes a book, especially a memoir, is pulling from years and years and years of their own experiences and their own data, and practices which were acceptable or recommended are now outmoded just by virtue of the fact that science moves on. I think this is a really, really good freaking book, and I think I will be recommending it to people in the future based on the idea of mental illness and how it makes us physically ill, because me, personally, as someone with depression, I found it very interesting and very validating in a few places to be told that, you know, it is all in your head, but that's still an illness. The next book that I read and finished is an old favourite, and I've talked about it plenty of times on this channel, so I'm not going to go quite as far into it as I did with the last one, but it is Tiny Beautiful Things, Advice on Life and Love by Cheryl Strayed. This was actually a present that I got my wife Helen several years ago, and I don't think I knew very much about it at the time. I am fairly sure that I actually heard about this from the wonderful Angie from the blog Angieville. I will link her down below. She is a spectacular person. This was one of the books that was reviewed so lovingly on her blog that I couldn't not pick it up. Essentially, Cheryl Strayed of Wild fame, both the memoir and the motion picture that was then adapted from that, also anonymously wrote a column for very many years called Dear Sugar. She was paid a pittance for it, and she did it out of sheer dedication because the letters that came in, that flooded in, just changed her life as much as she changed the lives of readers. She's irascible and sarcastic and pointed and kind of nippy in a few places, and I can't get enough of it. So really, this is one of my most gifted books. I push this on anybody that I can that seems even partially willing to give it a go, because everybody who I've ever recommended it to has absolutely loved it. And I don't know why I'm really wrapping it up, because the fact is I'm probably just going to start it again next year and spend time dipping in and out of it all over again. Now, the last book that I read is a super secret book, because it's for my wife Helen's Christmas, and when it came through the post I had to read it immediately because it was so tempting and so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a picture of it here. Where am I? Here, where the Christmas tree is. And I am just going to say that if you love Christmas and you love these things that I'm putting at the bottom of the screen here, that you will absolutely love this. It will be a new Christmas favourite, and I cannot emphasise to you how much I enjoyed this book. If I was still doing star ratings on the channel, I would be giving it 10 out of 5 because it's just so good. So that is everything that I read in November. I hope that you have enjoyed my Christmas jumper and my Christmas tree and all of the doggies that have been making noises in the background of this video and knocking the camera, because I suspect I'm going to be filming down here quite a lot in the coming days, even though my study is actually decorated this year. What did you read in November? Did you read anything controversial? What do you think of It's All in Your Head? Do you think that you would pick it up based on my review, or do you think that you would just give it a hard pass? Stay tuned. I am definitely not doing Vlogmas this year. That was a massive joke. However, I will be posting more videos this month just because it really is wrap up season, and I might get some videos filmed for gift guidey things. We'll see in the coming days. But I will speak to you guys soon. Bye!